That's crazy! The party.
On September 16th, Defense Secretary Mark Esper announced that China and Russia have already weaponized satellites with directed energy weapons.
Meanwhile, in space, Moscow and Beijing have turned a once peaceful arena into a warfighting domain. They have weaponized space through killer satellites, directed energy weapons, and more in an effort to exploit our systems and chip away at our military advantage.
And for the past few years, many have wondered if these advanced weapon systems have anything to do with the unprecedented fires we have seen in the past few years. Laser-based weapons are able to destroy the target with external heat, and microwave weapons are designed to penetrate the target through external antennas and sensors and ignite the internal electronics, destroying them from the inside out. This could explain how thousands of homes have rapidly burned into their own footprint while the trees surrounding them survive. And it could explain the several cars we have seen utterly destroyed with temperatures hot enough to liquefy glass and metal. Michael Janich, host of the YouTube DutchSense channel, has been researching the Earth's seismic activity for the past 10 years. During the past few weeks, he has discovered satellite imagery that show an equal distance spread of fires, all starting within the same 4 hours.
4 hours? We've got ourselves an equal distance spread of fires. Here, 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 and here. So, what could cause an equal distance spread of fires? Well, only two things, Mother Nature or man, right? There's no storm in the area. You can't blame a storm. So, what could cause equal distance spaced fires to spread out across, what do you think that is, 1/3 of Idaho?
And he also discovered what looks to be a beam of light that can be seen in the infrared spectrum, like a microwave. On September 8th, a beam of light can be seen directed to the Dolan Fire of California. The beam appears to excite the heat signature of the fire as it is held on target for over 2 hours.
Right before dawn, watch that. This is yesterday, going into this morning. This is in California, the beam coming from space up above Oregon, or somewhere in between this and Oregon. And as it's going through, see how it excites? As the beam is spreading, look how it excites. It's no doubt about it. And the beam spreads first. Look, beam spreads first. It goes from a tiny, little, tight beam to a wide beam. Then the fire spreads to a wide fire.
The next day, a beam of light is seen directed at and exciting the heat signature of the Holiday Farm Fire in Oregon for over an hour.
Here it is now, and it's two of them, and it's only going to one fire, a different fire, and it's moving. Okay, it's moving. There's clouds going through it, which rules out it being an artifact. The clouds are passing through and interfering with the beam.
Meanwhile, in space, Moscow and Beijing have turned a once peaceful arena into a warfighting domain. They have weaponized space through killer satellites, directed energy weapons, and more in an effort to exploit our systems and chip away at our military advantage.
The timing of this public admission is interesting. These weapons of the future are now officially being deployed. Are we currently being attacked with directed energy weapons? And if so, by who? For Infowars.com, this is Greg Reese.
这个热呀！哎呦，这天，哎呦我的妈呀，雷电那嘎达都着火了，这是。在哪儿呢？哎呦我路上了，就这，对，还是那样。
那颜色不一样吗？
一样的，这回更猛烈。
我操！刚才一个大雷给这个给这楼全给那干成火花了，这啥情况啊？ 呦我操！哎呦我操！哎呦我操！
我操，咋了是啊？
看，我又录着了。我操！
So today we're going to give a little update on the Hawaiian fires. Now I want you to look at this footage, and this sure doesn't look like a fire to me. It looks like something almost exploded or something went off. Now what's interesting is certain things are still standing while other things are not. Now the governor did say this is climate change doing this. Interesting. What they don't talk about is in January how they had in Maui a smart city conference to turn Maui into an entire smart island, changing everything to electric, renewables, solar panels, and pushing everybody into electric vehicles. 15-minute smart cities. So now what's also interesting is next month in September, Hawaii is hosting the Digital Government Summit utilizing AI to govern the island. It's almost like they're resetting something to start rebuilding for this in which they're trying to push. Now, when we look at all the climate change narrative that they're going to try to push, but they're not going to talk about the Weather Modification Act of 1976. I highly recommend everybody look into this act because who is involved in the weather modification activities? Department of Agriculture, Department of Defense, Department of Interior, EPA, and NASA. So if they're modifying the weather, then could they have caused this event? So if we see that the Department of Defense and other factions are responsible for modifying the weather, well then if we look at direct energy weapons, we can maybe see how this can all relate to this event.
I've calmed down. I've talked to so many of my friends on mainland that quite literally have no idea that there's 1,300 people packed in shelters and living out of their cars and having to move onto the streets and that aren't getting assistance and that aren't getting walked through these steps. They have no idea that the death count is so big. They have no idea that the majority of people that have perished are going to be the elderly and the children. They have no idea that our alarm system on this island is the biggest, it's the strongest in the entire nation. I think it might be the strongest in the whole world, but not a single fucking siren off. Why is this not bigger news? Like, our government fucked us, didn't give us any warning. We had to flee our houses. We lost fucking everything. And nobody knows. 1,300 people are displaced right now and hundreds are fucking dead. Why does nobody know? And I'm sorry, I wanted to add one more thing. It's that this isn't like a fast road. There's almost no recovering from this, especially not in a decade, maybe not in two. Who's to say? But our biggest industry over here is tourism, and now that our biggest tourist city burnt down, we are going to lose so many jobs. So many people are going to continue to lose their houses. People are going to have to sell their land to sources that they shouldn't just because nobody's going to be able to afford anything. Like, this isn't a ball game. We're going to be working on this for decades, and we're going to need support for decades, and it's pretty obvious that no one is going to stick around and help. Nobody showed up in the first place, really. So, just spread the message. Yeah. It's sad, but spread it.
Then people forget. And this is part of that. And that's kind of, that's kind of what part of this is to me. Because when I look at it, when you get into these things and you look at the history, you have so many stories which have been rewritten and then told a different thing. And then if we look at two things with the governor, stuff with the governor and the things that was happening with the governor was passing bills just before this so that they can change the zoning. Think about this. They wanted to change the zoning before the event. Then the event occurs, and then all of a sudden, the people are going to lose their land or have their land taken from them from FEMA. And that's what FEMA does. FEMA comes in there so that they can try to say they're going to save you, just like the Red Cross baloney, and they're trying to say that they're going to help you when they're on the other side. If you look at the largest donator, or one of the largest donators on the Red Cross, it's Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin, they create DEWs. DEWs. So if you think about this, if the people who create the weapons are funding the people who come in after the destruction, then do you see what happens? It goes back and forth. And then in the meantime, a new story, a new fairy tale, a new history, whatever you want to say, is written. And we start to see this, and they take over. And then the history is completely lost. And all the heritage is gone. The culture is gone. And they slowly keep doing this. And they've done this so many times. And just to see this, to feel this through, you could feel it through the screen. You could feel it. You could see the pictures and know that something is so wrong.
Not that long ago, Hawaiian government officials in the areas that were just affected by the wildfires passed a law saying that that land could not be redistricted for new building permits unless some sort or some type of a serious natural disaster occurred. Serious natural disaster occurred. And what did we have happen through those 3 districts of very sacred land to the Hawaiians? A very serious natural disaster. I'm not going to get into space lasers and but people called their insurance companies after the fire, and the insurance companies for the first time informed them that there was zoning infractions on their land, so they would not honor their insurance policies.
So today we're going to talk about some updates on the Hawaiian fire situation. Now I want you to look at this guy's page, go to his Instagram and follow him. He's talking about how people are trying to bring in supplies such as water, food, and gas, and they are being turned away. The military is turning away people from helping, and he was talking about this on his page. Now, if we take it a step further, the governor was asked, why didn't the system go off when the fires were happening? And he was basically saying it must have been a malfunction. But what's interesting is a person commented, the siren sounds went off when there was no tsunami, but the sound when an actual burning fire disaster, it doesn't occur. What's also interesting about the governor was he passed this executive order just before this in July, which could take away the land from the people based on if they need to rezone. There's also a lady who has mentioned how the Red Cross has had hundreds of millions of donations from all these celebrities, but they don't have any security and they're having to move the people out who have lost everything. So then we look at this lady's work and we can see that this looks like a land grab. If all of these politicians and celebrities really cared, why aren't they talking about this legislation? This legislation was something that was proposed on January 5th of 2023 of 51 acres in the same area of the fire would be turned into a housing project. Interesting. Now, what's also interesting is this follows the Agenda 2030 plan as well.
I've been reached out by investors and realtors offering to buy their land. And this is disgusting, and we just want to make sure that people around the world understand our situation and know that Lahaina is not for sale. It is important that the multi-generational families that come from Lahaina get to continue to live in our hometown.
Another friend reached out who's in Maui and was telling me that the victims are being told by their insurance companies that their properties that burned were actually violating city code and will not be rebuilt. So an act of war, an act of nature, whatever it may be that took place in this area, is now violating city code, and their insurance company is deciding not to cover it. Interesting that they were able to obtain an insurance policy to begin with if it was not within the city code. So then what is the point of insurance? If insurance is there to cover you in case an accident or something occurs, then what would be the point of having it if it doesn't cover you if that accident or incident occurs? These are questions we have to ask about this whole scenario and the entire thing in which is happening.
Y'all awake yet? I'm pissed. Like, seriously, you guys fucking awake yet? They are taking over. Look up the 2030 agenda. Maui, Vegas, it's a cover-up. They're using tech that we don't understand. There are reasons trees and umbrellas didn't burn, but houses did. Why did all of the blue items, I'm sorry, I'm shaking right now because I'm just mad. I'm so mad, and people need to wake up. People need to wake up. The blue items all over Maui, they weren't damaged. None of them. But yet, cars are liquid metal.
It was scary. People were scrambling for their lives.
The firefighters all might be trapped.
Because there was about 30, 40 of us out there floating in the water in the dark, just not knowing where to go. The dad gave me the 2-year-old, and from that time that he gave it to me, I had that son in my arms that clung onto my neck for about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours in the water. The mom didn't want to come in. The husband grabbed her, and that plywood saved our lives. We hung on to it, and we floated around with about 6 or 8 of us around the plywood, just hanging onto the edges. I had the 2-year-old just clinging onto my neck. As we were in the water, we heard people screaming. It was like bombs going off. It's like someone just dropped a bomb, or a fire goddess was just out there just going boom, 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 and fires just pop up everywhere.
The governor of Hawaii was at the United Nations speaking. He was the head speaker. They didn't sound the alarm and admitted that he was glad that he didn't sound the alarm because he didn't want to confuse people that it was a tsunami when it's obviously fucking clear. There's 100 fucking foot flames in the air. Okay? The governor of Hawaii was at the United Nations speaking. He was the head speaker of the smart cities that was approved July 16th. And now Maui just burned, and then evict the rest of them that didn't lose their homes. Why aren't they evicting Oprah? Why aren't they evicting all of these billionaires that are there? They're only evicting us. Why? Because they want complete control.
All right, what you're seeing behind me are active wildfires as identified by satellite. Now this is on Weather Underground. You can go, you can set the layers, and you can choose to pull this up. Now I saw this video going on TikTok of this girl going through this, showing the world burning. And I had to go check for myself because I just wanted to verify and make sure. And it was true. All of what you're seeing here are active fires happening presently. And look at Europe. I mean, I've never seen this before. This amount of activity. This is all climate change, right? I mean, look at Africa. Are they okay? Really? Because that is insane. And just wait, we're going to go over to South America next. We're going to take a little hop over the pond. And look at that. I'm sorry, this just doesn't seem normal to me. What do you think?
Well, off. Okay, so we're still in Fremantle. Who do we have here?
Alex Nicol.
Alex, now you used to work for the federal government.
I did, yeah, for 7 years.
Doing what?
I was policy advisor for a Liberal Party senator.
Okay. And tell you were saying about you working with the windmills?
Yeah, so the area that I was working in was renewable energy. And basically, it was my job to uncover a lot of the stuff that was going on with the Renewable Energy Act, which was put in 2002 under the Howard government. So that was the Liberal Party put the act in place, and I was looking at the mess that it had created. And what a lot of people don't understand is that the Renewable Energy Act creates a subsidy environment where if you build wind turbines, you're paid between $600,000 and $900,000 per turbine per year as a subsidy alone.
Well, if it's on your property.
No. So what happens is the wind company comes in and leases, they pay a lease to the farmer to build the wind turbines, and that in effect makes sure that the farmer is still liable for the turbine.
Okay.
And they pay a lease of $12,000 a year, usually, and the company gets paid between $600,000 and $900,000 per turbine per year.
So they pay $12,000 to the farmer, but they get $600,000.
Exactly.
Per turbine.
Yeah.
Which is a big incentive to put in turbines.
Yeah, and the landowner takes the liability for the turbine.
So he gets $12,000 a year, but if anything happens to it, he's got to fix it, or she's got to fix it.
Yeah, when they catch on fire,
yeah,
they're responsible for their neighbours' properties going up in smoke. That kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And effectively that money, the subsidy that's getting paid to the wind farms, is reaming $40 billion a year out of the Australian economy. And it's paid by everyone, every pensioner, householder, schools, hospitals, everyone. It's not just out of your tax, it comes out of your power bill.
Is this why power bills are going up?
Yeah. That's why power
bills.
bills.
Our power bills are going up to pay for wind turbines that don't work.
Exactly.
And why don't they work?
So they don't work because, for a start, they draw power off the grid, so they have to have coal-fired power in order to turn. They're not windmills, they're turbines. And essentially...
Sorry, what do you mean? The power to turn. So when we see them turning, that's not the wind, that's the power generator turning.
Essentially, they have to draw power off the grid, so they have to draw coal-fired power off the grid in order to turn. And what happens when the wind picks up, they do actually start to create electricity of their own, but that electricity is so intermittent and unreliable, when it gets back to the grid, it has to be balanced on the grid, which you can't do. And like with your coal-fired power station, you can't ramp your coal-fired power stations up and down. So the coal-fired power station stays at the same level because it takes 24 to 48 hours for them to get up to heat anyway, and they just let off steam as the wind comes onto the grid. So there's absolutely nothing about them that works apart from reaming that amount of money out of the Australian economy, and it's going offshore.
That money's going offshore.
Good evening. I've been a supporter of green energy and a keen environmentalist since my 20s. My office is solar powered, so I was mortified to discover that a single lithium mine causes millions of tons of waste every year laced with sulfuric acid and radioactive uranium, polluting the water supply for 300 years, not to mention the unacceptable human costs with child labour to mine cobalt. When I researched which solar panel to purchase, I did not for 1 minute consider it would be made by people trapped in razor wire enclosed labour camps, being exposed to large quantities of quartz dust which causes silicosis. Please note that the Ethical Consumer Organisation report that it is hard to avoid forced labour in the solar panel supply chain. Wind turbines, which last about 20 years, consume a colossal amount of resources and energy to manufacture and install, not to mention the blight and bird kill. They require diesel engines to start them up and then gallons of oil to lubricate, and they can't readily be recycled. Solar panels are also extremely difficult to recycle, costing more than the production of the panel. and lithium batteries pose steep challenges too. Add to that the human suffering, which we've all unwittingly been part of just by owning a laptop or mobile phone, which is minimal compared to what's required for an EV or solar farm. These so-called green or ethical solutions aren't solutions at all. Just very good marketing from the $1.5 trillion a year climate change industry. That's $4 billion a day, by the way. None of us can undo what's already been done, but what we can all do is make sure this doesn't escalate exponentially with fleets of unnecessary EVs and acres of solar farms eating up our precious farmland.
President Biden says he wants 50% of new cars to be electric by 2030.
True, but I guess now it's 60%.
True or false, a typical electric car requires 6 times the mineral inputs of a conventional car.
Yes.
If 50% of the cars were electric vehicles today, is there enough power on the electric grid to charge them all?
Absolutely not. No.
You said in your written statement, Mr. Bradbury, I'm going to quote you, if every country in the world achieved its stated EV targets by 2030, the total savings in carbon dioxide emissions would be expected to reduce global temperatures by only 0.0002 degrees Fahrenheit by the year 2100. Given this fact, is it unilaterally gutting the U.S. auto market, critical mineral supply chain, and the grid stability? Is that the solution for addressing the temperature goals?
Well, I don't think so.
Biggest fear that the World Economic Forum has is that there are going to be people that will not comply. Their biggest fear is your fight for freedom. Their biggest fear is that you will make individual decisions for yourself and you will not follow their orders. So this digital stuff is absolutely key, because without it, they can't enforce anything. Without it, they can't mandate that you do something. Without it, they can't control your life. So I don't care if you're talking about carbon emissions and what's safe and effective as far as they are concerned. I don't care if they're talking about an experimental injection, a series of injections, whatever they may be, and what's safe and effective as far as they're concerned. This is not about those individual things. This is about the desire to control you from the outside in. And if they have a digital process whereby they can restrict your movement, your behavior, and your decisions with the click of a button, you are done. You're done.
I'm just going to say this. I heard this morning on another podcast that this variant obviously is already sweeping the UK.
New variant.
They're considering having all their citizens in the UK mask up again. Guys, I am begging you, if you stood down in 2020, please stand up in 2023 when this hits our shores. Because if you think you lost freedom last time, it ain't going to be nothing compared to what they're going to do this time. And if we overwhelm these idiots and let them know that we will not do this, and those of us that stood last time don't have to stand alone, then we can beat this. We can actually beat them at their game this time. So please don't be a coward this time. Don't mask your kids up. Don't go and not go to the grocery store without your mask on. Don't send your kids to school with masks on. Don't stop hugging each other. Don't stop going to church. And if your pastor shuts his doors, find a new church. If your pastor finds a way to agree with the narrative, find a new church this time. Guys, we are living in the end, and they are trying so hard to tear down our country from within. And they're doing it, and they're going to continue doing it. And the only way for us to push it back is to stand up. There are far more of us than there are of them. But they are going to work exceptionally hard, and I guarantee you, if they start pushing this in our country, it will be far worse than it was last time. Far worse than it was last time. They want 15-minute cities. They want us to stop communicating with each other. They want to censor us. They want to shut us down. We have to stand. We're already seeing it with what's going on in Hawaii, and if you think that was a natural disaster, you got another thing coming.
Stick your vaccine mandates up your ass.
What's your language in public?
You can stick your vaccine mandates up your ass. You can stick your vaccine mandates. Stick your vaccine mandates. You can stick your vaccine mandates up your ass. You can stick your vaccine mandates up your ass. You can stick your vaccine mandates up your ass. You can stick your vaccine mandates. Stick your vaccine mandates. You can stick your vaccine mandates up your ass. Guys, if you see this Commodore 1GZT357, it's a couple of Ds dressed in black.
You can stick your vaccine mandates up your ass. You can stick your vaccine mandates up your ass. You can stick your vaccine mandates. Stick your vaccine mandates. You can stick your vaccine mandates up your ass. Singing we are 99%. Singing we are 99%. Singing we are 99%. You can stick your poison vaccines up your ass. You can stick your poison vaccines up your ass. You can stick your poison vaccines. Stick your poison vaccines. Stick your poison vaccines up your ass. You can shove your vaccine mandates up your ass. You can shove your vaccine mandates up your ass. You can shove your vaccine mandates. Shove your vaccine mandates. Shove your vaccine mandates up your ass.
This is crazy out here. Let me call Trump. Hey, Trump, this Popcorn, how you doing? Yeah, I'm fine. Look, I need to ask you something. What you doing? I'm gonna need to know what you're doing. I mean, because enough is enough. You going back to work or what? But where you at now? You on the golf course or you at the courthouse? Look, let me tell you something. I know they keep coming at you with all these court cases. You better take one for the team. It's crazy out here. I went to the store, hot dogs, $7 a pack. Yeah, $7 a pack. Look, I used to pay $2 stuff for them hot dogs when you was in office. They gone up to $7 a pack. Look, you gotta take one for the team. You gotta get it together, go back to work now, because this is crazy. We can't eat out here. Yeah, I get it. But you gotta take one for the team, because let me tell you something, Trump. You've been out like 2.5 years, almost 3 years now. It's enough time for you to vacation, stop pouting, doing whatever you're doing. You gotta take one for the team and go back to work. I went to the bank today, my account got a negative $3 in there. When you was in there, I was able to keep some money in there. It's a negative $3 now. I can't even get a Redbox movie. Yeah, I wanted to see the new John Wick 4. My account negative $3. But what Melania you saying? Really? Yeah, that's my girl. You know, that's my girl. I like Melania. She right, though, for real. You got to get it together and go back to work, because enough of this is enough. You don't mess around and let these gas prices go up, food prices go up. You up there pouting. Yeah, you got to take one for the team. Go back to work and get this stuff under control. Yeah, I'll holler. Bye.